In this video, I'm going to be answering a question that you may have and that I've been asked 1,000 times. And that is, Andrew, what I'm learning here in the PMP, is it actually useful for real life project management? Can I actually take the knowledge that I've learned here in a PMP class? Maybe you're reading my book, maybe you're taking my class, maybe you're watching my videos or whatever, or maybe somebody else's class or videos. And you're saying to yourself, is any of this useful? Am I going to be a better project manager? Let's find the answer to this question in this video. So, this is probably one of the most common questions I get asked, believe that or not. When I teach this class in a live setting, a lot of people ask me the question of, does anybody use this? Should we be using this on a project? Is this really useful on a project? And the answer is yes. I mean, if you're looking to end the video really fast, the answer is yes. Yes, it is very useful. In this video, I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to show you some proof on why. So let's say right now you're studying. Maybe you're reading a part of the book. You're going through scope management or schedule management, and you're seeing all these processes, all these ITTOs, or maybe you're on the agile section. You're seeing all these agile ceremonies, and you're saying, does anybody actually follow this, or should I be following it? Maybe you're managing a project and you're not following these practices. Maybe you're not doing all these 49 processes. Maybe you're not utilizing some of these ITTOs. And in this video, I'm going to explain to you why you should, or let's see what the interwebs or the world says. Let's get into it. So to really dive down into this question, we really have to understand a couple of things. Where is the knowledge base for the PMP coming from? The second thing we want to ask ourselves is, what is that knowledge base based on? So where's it coming from and what the hell is it based on? Then we want to see, what is the consensus? What is the world saying about the knowledge base? Like, where it came from, is it actually useful? And that'll give us the actual answer. And then at the end of the video, I'll give you my full opinion on it. So let's get into it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about, where is the exam coming from, right? The contents of the exam is based on a document PMI publishes every time a brand new exam comes out, and that is called the exam content outline. The exam content outline is published by PMI every single time a brand new PMP exam comes out. The last time a new PMP exam came out was 2021. Every time an exam comes out, it lasts about 3 or 4 years from my experience. The new PMP exam may not come until 2024 or even 2025. So that is called the exam content outline. Now, I've already downloaded it, and I'm going to put some links in the description below for this. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. So here is the exam content outline. Now, in this exam content outline, it basically tells you all the tasks or things that they want you to know to pass your exam. So I'm going to scroll down here, all the way down in it. And they have these things called domains that they test on. Within these domains, you have something called enablers and tasks, basically. So you see task 1, manage conflict. So what PMI is saying here is, on a project, on managing project, you should know how to manage conflicts with people. You should know how to lead a team. You should support their performance. You should empower that team, and so on. You should know how to build team. This is going to be general thing. Now, this video isn't about going over this document. I did videos on this already. You should check them out. But this is what the exam is based on. This is the list of things that they want you to know. Now, the other thing we got to say to ourselves, okay, if this is what the exam is based on, then where did PMI get this from? When they actually write the questions that relate to these tasks, where are they pulling the knowledge base from? So PMI does publish this. This is going to be the exam reference list. Now, the exam reference list, again, description below. Check in the description below for the link. The exam reference list is the series of books that the exam is based on. Basically, if you read all these books that I'm about to show you, you would pass your exam because you would have the full knowledge base. And that is called the exam reference list. So the exam reference list, once again, is a whole series of books. So you can see that here. And it's telling you all the exam questions are basically going to come from these books. And you're going to see things like the Agile Practice Guide, the PMBOK Guide, and a variety of other books here that I'm not going to get into, but it's basically 10 books that is listed here. Now, the PMBOK Guide is actually not just the 6th edition, but it's also the 7th edition. So it's 6th and 7th edition, the Agile Practice Guide, a variety of other books. Now, the other books that's listed here, I've read some of them, not all of them. You guys know I write the best-selling PMP guide, but gone through most of them. For example, I've done this one, Effective Project Management. I've done the Project Manager's Toolkit. I've done Project Manager, the managerial process. Not all of them, but a good set of them. And what's interesting about the other books that's listed here is they're pretty much all based on PMBOK guide. They're based on the PMBOK guide. They're based on Scrum guides. They're based on the Agile Practice Guide. So if you read like the PMBOK guide, or you go through PMBOK guide, or you go through the Scrum guides and so on, the Agile Practice Guide, you basically read all the other books. All of them are just basically other authors with good information and just more elaboration from PMBOK. But it basically all comes from the PMBOK guide and the Agile Practice Guide. Okay, so now we have answered that question of where's the knowledge coming from. So we know it's coming from these PMBOK guides and Agile Practice Guide and Scrum guides. So that's when you take a PMP class, when you read a study guide on the PMP, when you watch PMP videos, this is where those instructors, me included, is getting that information from. Is it useful in the real world? Well, in order to answer the main question of this video, you have to understand how is a guide like the PMBOK guide built, right? How do they create it? So in order to create the PMBOK guide, PMI collaborates with hundreds of project managers around the world. And over the years, it's probably been thousands of project managers around the world. And they have given their inputs on what they consider to be good practices of managing a project. Like when you're managing a project, these are the things you should do. Okay, so PMI collaborates. And let's say you put, if you want to create a small PMBOK guide, take 10 project managers, put them in a room and say, give me the best practices of how to manage a project from the 10 of you guys. That's basically how PMBOK is built, with the exception it's done with thousands of people. Now, PMBOK guide. Let's see something. I want to show you something. If I go to the Wikipedia article on PMBOK, right? Project Management Body of Knowledge. Again, description, check the description for the link. In it, there's a history, it came out in 1996. But you see right here, let me just make this bigger here so we can see this a lot easier. Look what it says here. It says the PMBOK guide is intended to be a subset of project management body of knowledge, okay, that is generally recognized as a good practice. So two words there. It's generally recognized and it's good practices. All right. So you got to remember that. So what we learn in the PMBOK guide, what we learn in our PMP is going to be generally recognized and it's good practices to follow. It also goes on to say, generally recognized means that the knowledge and practices describes are applicable. Is that how you pronounce that? To most projects, most of the time, and there is a consensus about their value and usefulness. So what does that mean? Well, that means that there is a consensus. So what we learn in the PMBOK, most people say is good. It's a consensus, right? Majority of people say this is good stuff. And that the consensus also believe that it's going to bring value and it's going to be useful to your project. So if you studied your PMP, maybe you passed your PMP already, or you're studying it now, and you're not applying some of those quote unquote good practices, then you're probably not maximizing the value on your project. Maybe you're not being as useful as you could be on your project. It also goes on to say, what is good practice? So good practice means that there is a general agreement that the application of the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques can enhance the chance of success over many projects. Okay? So that means that, I'm just reading this again, that when you apply the knowledge that you're going to learn in your PMP, when you apply that, and I'm talking the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques, there's a good probability that you're going to have more chances of success on your project. Okay, and an example would be like you're managing a project right now, but you don't have a risk register. And that's a really basic document that basically lists all the risks that could happen on your project and how you plan to respond to them. So if you don't have that document, you're basically managing the risk in your head. And if you're not there, no one would know how to respond to the project. And, it's more chaotic. So this is the part of the video where I'm going to give you my my opinion is definitely if you follow what you learn in a PMP, all the processes, and I'm not saying you have to implement them all the ITTOs, and again, you don't have to implement them all the ceremonies in Agile and the way we do Agile according to the PMP, if you implement these things in the way you learned it to pass your exam, okay, then according to this, then you can enhance the chance of success for your project. All right. You see, when it comes to good practices, we should be following it. Many project managers before us and much more knowledgeable than me and you have given their inputs and said these are things that you should be doing to manage your project, whether that's developing a scope management plan or making a risk register or doing certain kinds of inspections on your deliverables or following agile practices this way and knowing your team velocity, whatever it is. If you do these things, there is a good probability that you can enhance the success of your project. You know, when you're studying for your PMP, and I always emphasize this, I did a whole video on this. When you're studying for your PMP, please don't study just to pass a test. Study the PMP, know it well, and when you do pass your exam, try to go out. And I'm not saying to implement everything. I'm not saying go on and implement 49 processes on your project right now. Go out there and try to do some of the things you learned. Just don't forget about it. Why don't you actually try to create that risk register? Why don't you make an issue log? Every project should have an issue log, for God's sake. Why don't you implement some of those management plans? Why don't you implement all the agile ceremonies, like doing your stand-up meetings for 15 minutes, right? Why don't you have a well-defined product backlog with well-defined roles in there? Why don't you do that? Because you know what? By doing those things, we can enhance the success of projects, real life projects, not just made up stuff in textbooks. Okay, guys. So my opinion was what? Please do it. Study well. You're going to pass your exam, yes. But the knowledge you're going to gain, please go out and apply that knowledge in the real world. Apply it to all of the different projects you're working on, whether you're working on painting a room in your house or you're actually doing a software development or some big project. Guys, if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the amount of time, or you appreciate the amount of time it goes into making these videos, looking all this stuff up, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell. We're going to be doing a lot more videos on the world of project management and make you a better project manager in coming up later on, and I will see you in the next video.